Welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the NBA Exchange. I'm your host, Dexter Henry, and what a weekend and what a Game 5 we saw in the NBA Finals. Man, things done changed for sure. The Bucks now lead this series 3-2. We are talking all Bucks basketball here on today's episode of the NBA Exchange. Well, the NBA Finals has not gone the way many people would have thought after the Suns went up 2-0 in this series. The Bucks, as I talked about earlier, have stormed all the way back. They now have a 3-2 lead with a chance to close it out in Game 6. It's been unbelievable. So, to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks, I had to bring in somebody who knows Bucks basketball well, who covers Bucks basketball. Carr. He is a staff writer for Brew Hoop and also a podcaster for Brew Hoop. Kyle, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I feel like this NBA Finals has aged me at least 20 years, and this whole playoff run has aged me 50 years. So I'm hoping that they can end this on Tuesday so I can just take a moment to relax. But it's been good otherwise.
Yeah, man. I saw on Twitter how you were tweeting about this game, live tweeting, and with all Bucks Nation, I could tell there was a lot of stress. There's been a lot of stress from that fan base throughout the postseason. So let's start with this. Game 5 happens. Bucks rebound. They get this win. Before we dive more into that game, how are you feeling? How is Bucks Nation feeling? One win away from a championship. I feel like the anxiety got to be pretty high.
Yeah, it's definitely a little odd just because I know for most of the Bucks Nation, it's kind of this playoff run has been a situation that I don't think anyone would have seen. You know, going in 2019 and you're 2 games away and you're feeling like, okay, that was your best chance. And then you still rebound the next year in 2020 and like everything's going well. And then COVID hits and then you go into the bubble and they just ran into the Miami Heat and everything just went wrong and fell apart. And that was kind of a frustrating thing because now you're going into next year and like, okay, well, Philly decided to make an upgrade on a coach. Brooklyn had a healthy KD now to add with Kyrie, and then they make a trade for James Harden. You're kind of looking like, is Miami still going to be this good? Boston still around? So now you're kind of looking at it's like, we don't know what's going to happen. And this was all before Giannis signs the Supermax. And then when Giannis does sign it and makes a trade for, and Milwaukee makes a trade for Jrue Holiday, you're at least feeling a little bit better, but you're still on edge. And you get the 3 seed, which is okay, but you win the first round. He's sweeping the Heat. That was, I think, when, at the very least, you got that out of the way. I was like, good, you swept the Heat. At least you proved that last year was more or less a fluke. Then you get to the Nets, and game 1, you lose. James Harden's out within the first minute, and you're thinking, oh, this team is not going to be able to, I don't know about this. And they lose game 2 in terrible fashion. I think that's probably been the worst. It's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, because I feel like game 2 was kind of the everything went wrong and this team is going to get, like, maybe they won't win the series, but oh man, this looks bad. And they turned it around. Milwaukee's turned it around. They've played pretty well ever since. I mean, game 5 against Brooklyn was a frustrating end because they blew that lead in the fourth quarter, but you see the confidence gaining in this team. You see game 3, they scrape that out. Game 4, they blow out Brooklyn. Get to game 5, you blow out, okay, fine. Game 6, Khris Middleton has a great game. You go into game 7, and I think after that game, that's when everyone's like, this team can make the finals. And at this point, maybe they can win it all. Like, yes, Atlanta's going to be a good team. It's going to be tough. But you just survived what I think everyone would agree was just this ungodly performance from Kevin Durant that whole series. So you go into the NBA Finals, and now you have those first 2 games. And, oh yeah, Giannis nearly bending his knee in half and tearing his ACL. That was always a factor. It was like, okay, well, it gets to the finals, and if Giannis can't play, at least you made it. Like, okay, it is what it is. Injuries happen. Game 1, Giannis is going to play. He isn't 100%, but he's still, at least he looks relatively healthy. And in game 2, Giannis looks great. Just fell apart when Phoenix hit 20 of 43s. Can't really win many games if the opponent's going to hit that many threes at that high of a percentage. And you get to game 3. Game 3 is good. Game 4 was really the game where I was like, I don't know. This is where I'm the most nervous, because you did the work in game 3 to at least not make sure that you're not going in a 3-hole down. You get to game 4, and it just feels like every time you couldn't get a every time you couldn't get a basket, every time you're struggling, even when you get the lead down to maybe 3 or 4 points, you still turn around and Phoenix hits a shot. And you're just feeling uncertain, and it gets to the final, and Devin Booker's hitting everything. It just feels like this is not going to be your night. And they turn it around. They come back. They get the win. Giannis with the block at the end. I mean, Devin Booker somehow wrapping the dude up and not getting called for a foul. It just felt like I don't know how this is going to end. And you win game 4. Okay, you feel good. And game 5, man, I actually felt fine after game 5, the first quarter. Like, everything that could have gone wrong for Milwaukee did. They made a bunch of turnovers. They couldn't hit a shot. Phoenix literally shoots 74%, including 5 of 6 from 3, and you're only down 16. And you're just thinking, okay, that's fine. You can bounce back as long as you get it to maybe 7 or 8 deficit at halftime. You can turn this around. You just got to chip away at this lead. And then not only do they completely erase the deficit, they go up 3 at halftime. That's when you're thinking, there's something about this team that we haven't seen before. The teams the last few years would not have come back from this. They would have completely wilted and fallen apart, probably in game 4. Like, I don't think the past Bucks teams would have won game 4, let alone coming back and winning game 5. So it feels good. And now I feel like there's half of the fans that are getting ready to party and celebrate Bucks in 6. And there's the other half that's like, nope. This is only the Bucks would find a way to lose game 6 at home to clinch a title, and then you have to go make it difficult and try and win game 7. So I think it's been overall a good run, and I think it's vanquishing a lot of demons, and this team is showing us something that we haven't seen from them in the past.
Yeah, it's undoubtedly been a roller coaster run, right, Kyle? But you brought up a lot of things. I'm glad you kind of brought that up about how it feels for Bucks fans to watch this through the process. But they come off this game 5 win, 123-119. Getting that road win in Phoenix. And you talked about it. This team has shown a lot of resiliency. And I would say because of the resiliency we've seen throughout the playoffs, does that make you confident? Do you think about them doing this in game 6? What do you have to say about their resiliency? Do you think it's made the team stronger throughout this playoff run?
I definitely think so. And I think a lot of it has to do with the players that came in this year. You look at Jrue Holiday, you look at PJ Tucker, you look at Bobby Portis, you look at those 3 alone, and they have this mentality. I know PJ Tucker always says we dogs, and Bobby Portis has been saying it, but I really do think this team mentally brought a lot of toughness that I wouldn't say like Giannis and Khris didn't have last year, but I think it just, Giannis is more I'm going to go out and try and do this Herculean effort. That's kind of more Giannis' thing. Khris Middleton, I think you could say he wasn't aggressive enough when the Bucks needed him until last year in the Miami Heat series. And then it kind of feels like he's gained that confidence. And I think it's just those 2 things. Eric Bledsoe, great regular season player, but it seems like when the pressure got to him in the playoffs, he always folded and collapsed. And I think Budenholzer may have also just said, you know what? I made the adjustments in the regular season, and now I feel confident that I can do some of these tweaks. So I do think with the players they brought in, especially PJ Tucker and Bobby Portis and Jrue Holiday, there's just a different mindset with it. And I think playing in front of fans also has something to do with it. I mean, you can tell how loud I was at game 3, and Fiserv Forum got really loud in game 3. And I think you've seen that where a player like Bobby Portis is the reason he is so beloved is because he's going out there and he's giving it his all. And fans appreciate that. Fans will always appreciate if you just give it your all and put it all out there. It may not work the way it does, but if you're showing that, they're going to respond. And I think those 2 factors of the fans being there and this team's mental makeup with the additions have really, that I think that's been the highlight of the resiliency of the team. Because like I said, they're not winning in Brooklyn in game 7, let alone getting to 7 games. They're probably not going to win in the Atlanta Hawks series if it's Khris Middleton and Eric Bledsoe instead of Khris Middleton and Jrue Holiday. I don't know how many, maybe they win a game 3 with like the roster from last year or even 2019. But the fact that they just have these guys that are going to go in and they're going to put in the work and they're going to show that we are not going to get pushed over. And if we take a punch, we're going to throw back. And one of my co-hosts always says, like, they've been staring death in the face multiple times this postseason, and death has blinked first somehow. And how long that could keep going, we don't know. But all you got to do is get one more win, and it'll be worth it.
Yeah, they are one win away, and they've shown that resiliency. Can we talk about Jrue Holiday for a second? He was amazing in Game 5. People were complaining about him. Oh, you gave up this much for Jrue Holiday. We should bring Eric Bledsoe back. I know you heard it, Kyle. You heard people saying it, but 27 points, 13 assists, 3 steals. The biggest steal of the game, obviously, in some of the final seconds, and then that lob assist to Giannis Antetokounmpo. He has been great. How are you surprised that he can't clutch, or does that sort of tie into the resiliency that we've seen with this team?
I'm not surprised at all. The only thing I was more surprised about is his offensive stat line. Most of the series has been kind of poor, which, during the regular season, Jrue Holiday was getting the layups. He was getting the 3-pointers. He had a pretty good offensive season. And you get to the playoffs, and ever since that Miami series, he's kind of had games where he's just struggled shooting-wise. I vividly remember Game 6 against Brooklyn, where it was like he was, I think, like 10 of 23 or 10 of 24. It was the shooting line was awful, and yet he time and time again finds the plays that he needs to make. Whether it was Game 7 where he hit a 3 and a baseline jumper to give Milwaukee the lead against Brooklyn, whether it was a game-winning shot in that was in Game 7. In Game 3, he hits a game winner against Brooklyn. He's just he's made the offensive plays that he needs to, and I think it goes back to what I've always thought of why they brought in Jrue Holiday. They just needed someone that you can trust in the clutch. You can go in there, you can give him the ball and say, do something for us. And I think he's done that most of the time. But really where he's been so valuable is on the defensive side. He has clamped up Chris Paul ever since that Game 1. He has decided, I'm taking Chris Paul and I'm going to pressure him all the way up. In the Eastern Conference Finals, he was doing that with Trae Young. He's just such a huge defender. And now this is the second game in a row where he has come up with a clutch steal. He made the clutch steal again at the end of Game 4. Chris Paul was dribbling. Jrue Holiday was able to poke it away from him, get it to Chris Middleton, who gets the layup. In Game 5, obviously, he gets the steal, throws the alley-oop to Giannis, but none of this is surprising. I think that's why you make the trade. I mean, it was going to be tough, too. You're going to have to give up a lot to get someone of this caliber. And, I mean, I still think it was the right decision. I think it is the kind of move that if you want to go win a title, you make this move. If you wanted to be okay with trying to contend and just being there, then yeah, maybe don't give up as much for Jrue Holiday. You don't even get him, or you stick with Eric Bledsoe. But for a title, these are the plays that you make the trade for, and I'm not super surprised. I think this is why you brought him in. He was going to be someone that you can look and say, we needed to do something, and he did something.
He absolutely did. He's absolutely stepped up. Now, Giannis, he's been huge all series long, dominating. I'm calling him the modern-day Shaq with the numbers that we're seeing. I think in every playoff game, he shot over 50%. We've seen games where he shot over 60% in this series. Has Giannis taken his game to another level? Because he looks more efficient. He looks like he's playing within himself. We haven't seen him take that many threes. Do you think that Giannis has gone to another level for the Bucks here?
I think he has gone to another level, and I think a big part of that is his shot selection in general. He still takes the odd, 2 or 3 3-pointers that might not be advised, but most of the time he's going in and he's just like, I'm going to dominate in the paint. And I think it's finally working that he's going to dominate the paint. He doesn't need to catch the ball, at the top of the key and then barrel into defenders. Like, he doesn't need to do that. He can get it at the high post, take a dribble or two. He can get it baseline, kind of get a spin. Like, he's just been so much smarter. And I think that's been the thing that we've seen all regular season from him. And he's just been smarter. He's handling double and triple teams a lot better. It helps that his teammates are hitting threes, or at the very least, Pat Connaughton is hitting threes in the corner, but his growth is more on the decision-making side. Like, the skill set's been there. I think maybe him adding a turnaround jumper has helped, but I just think it's just more he's not trying to do it all himself, and he's not barreling into defenders, picking up a lot of unnecessary charge calls. And he's getting the ball closer to the rim, which is what we've all been asking, Bud and the whole team to be doing. It's like, get this guy near the rim and he's going to do great things. So I think that's where his growth has really been showing, is just making the smarter decisions and making things easier than it needs to be.
Definitely. Kyle, here comes the question that we have to ask. This is the question that all Bucks fans want to know. Okay, you can't be scared of the question. It's coming. Can the Bucks win Game 6 and close this out at home Tuesday night?
Oh, can they? Yeah, they absolutely can do it. Sure. I have no doubt that they can win game 6. A lot of it is going to come down to can Phoenix weather? I would say there's going to be 3 storms that Phoenix has to weather, which is ironic because it's the Suns. Now I think about it, but the first one's going to be the beginning of the game. Fights for form is going to be loud. Like that place is going to erupt. So if Phoenix can handle that first 5 or 6 minutes of the first quarter, they can do that. Then the second one is going to be the inevitable Milwaukee run where things kind of start clicking. If they can handle that, that's going to be the next stage that Phoenix has to storm. And then the final is going to be the fourth quarter. If the game is still within reach in the fourth quarter, there's going to be one last, and it's kind of going same thing with Milwaukee. It's like there's going to be one final who's going to throw that knockout punch. And I think with the crowd, if Milwaukee can get out to a fast start, Milwaukee just survived 2 very impressive Devin Booker shooting games. I wouldn't put it past Devin Booker to have another game in it like that. I would not doubt it. But the more Milwaukee forces Devin Booker and Chris Paul to kind of take over and try and do the hero ball, the better it is for Milwaukee. Limit the amount of threes that Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder and Cam Johnson are taking. If they can limit that, you just survive the game where Phoenix shot 60-something from the floor and 53% from the floor, like 60% from 3. You just survived that in their stadium. So now you can go into game 6, a place where Milwaukee's only lost once out of their, I think, like 12 games or something. I think they can do it. Like, it's definitely possible. Am I going to say they will? If I lean towards yes, but it's not like I'm going to the casino and betting on it. It's not like I'm feeling super confident, but I feel at least good enough that you are finally in the driver's seat. Milwaukee's finally in the driver's seat. Milwaukee finally has the odds in their favor for the series. And now it's just a matter of can you go and close it out? And to the Bucks' credit, under Mike Budenholzer, they have not lost a game that they've been able to clinch the series. So can they do it one more time? I think they can. Like I said, I'll lean towards yes, they'll try and close it out, but it's not like I'm already popping champagne and planning my Wednesday, taking the day off, celebrating or anything. But I think they can do it. I think getting out to a fast start is going to be absolutely necessary, or at the very least, you're going to need one big quarter.
What do you think are some other keys for the Bucks here? Because offensively, particularly in the half court, the Bucks still have struggled at times. So what do you think are the keys to them if they can get out to that fast start, as you said, Kyle, and then able to close it out? What is it going to take in terms of keys for the Bucks to get this Game 6 victory and be holding the Larry O'Brien Trophy on Tuesday night?
I think one of the things that they haven't done as well, and credit to Phoenix for that, is they have not gotten a lot of paint touches for Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis. When Giannis went down for games 5 and 6, that's what Milwaukee continuously did to Atlanta. They went to Brook Lopez, they went to Bobby Portis, and they just pounded them in the paint. I think one game they had almost 70 points in the paint. They haven't done that as well to Phoenix, to their credit, and a lot of it has to do with DeAndre Ayton just being big enough that you can't just bully him around. In game 3, Milwaukee went on its big run when DeAndre Ayton was in foul trouble. So I think they can find a way to do that again. That's going to be huge. Hopefully you get a good shooting game again from Khris and Jrue, and Pat Connaughton continues doing it. But I think the biggest thing is if you can get Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis going down low, that's going to make life a lot easier for Giannis to get touches in the paint. It's going to make things a lot easier for Khris and Pat Connaughton to get threes. I think it's just going to make the offense flow a lot better, just because, they have stagnated at times. And, you can hope that Phoenix doesn't have as much of an offense as well, but I think finding a way to get easier points down low for Brook and Bob is going to be a key point that Milwaukee hasn't been able to do as efficiently this series.
We shall see what happens if their offense can be even more efficient in Game 6. We'll also see if Kyle and Bucks Nation are going to be dealing with a lot of anxiety watching this game. Kyle, we'll see what happens Tuesday night. I want to thank you for joining the NBA Exchange. Appreciate you, brother.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. And yes, I will be stress tweeting probably that whole night. So hopefully I can at least just relax at the end of the game and the series, and Milwaukee clinches the series and gets that title.